Finally, Sayon Keita is in Chapel Hill. The team is complete, and together, it's time to get to work.
This is Jonathan Holmes, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, SIGH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. Coming up on this brand new week of shows later on today, interesting. Several schools are moving senior day from the end of the season to the beginning of the season. I'll give you my take on it. Before we get there, though, quarterback conversation for the Tar Heels should be getting clearer as we get even closer and closer to the season, but it's not. If anything, it's getting more confusing. I'll explain why. Before all of that, though, Sayon Keita is finally in Chapel Hill just in time for classes to start today, Monday, August 17th. It's great news. We got to talk about that. And seriously, 1 week from today, game week. Hard to believe for Carolina football, but we'll get after it. Okay. Sayon Keita is in Chapel Hill. This team is finally together, and now it's time to go to work. We'll talk about some things about Sayon's arrival, but here's the biggest take of it. It's hard for a team to be complete and to really get things going until everybody's there. Like all summer long, it has felt like anytime you see practice footage or highlights or anything, it's like, boy, yeah, congrats, guys. But what about the front court? Like you've got to get this team there. Now they're complete, and now Michael Malone can tweak, put the pieces together, see how the roles fit, see who goes where. Does Keita, how quickly does he assimilate both to America as well as to Carolina basketball, as well as to Michael Malone basketball? How quickly can that all work? Is it Cameron Fens? Is it Keita? Who starts on Monday, November 2nd? Now that he's in town, that process can fully begin, and that is great news. The sooner you can get him there, the better. So glad that he's there. Big thanks to Spencer Haskell of Inside Carolina, who must have gone to RDU on Saturday night and just waited and ultimately took a picture and posted it. It was like 9:16 Eastern time. Here's the thing. There's a whole bunch of people in the comments of that picture. Like it's so absurd to me. Like, boy, Sayon, let's just look at some of these. He looks so sad and uninterested. He looks disappointed already. Rumor is he might be headed back to Barca. Looks more like Keita's on the outside looking in. Can he even practice? Negative aura. On and on and on and on and on. You know what? It's no wonder he looks that way. It's not because he doesn't want to be there. It's not because he's not excited. You know why? Because that picture was posted at 9:16 p.m. Eastern time. You know what time that is in Barcelona, Spain? 3:16 a.m. If the dude looks tired and out of it, it's because he is. He just wants to be in bed like any normal human being. And oh, by the way, it's not like just some random day where he's been sitting twiddling his thumbs and now he's no, he's been traveling all day. Of course he looks disinterested. Let the man sleep. The internet is unhinged as always. My favorite take though from that picture, you need to go look at it, is somebody commented, which one's Keita? Because it's Coach Malone, it's Coach Chuck Martin, another guy that I'm guessing maybe traveled with Sayon. I'm not even sure who it is. And then they're all like normal sized human beings. And then Keita, his head is almost touching the signage that's hanging down from the ceiling. It's incredible stuff there. So lay off the kid. He's 18 years old and he wants to be in bed. Speaking of 18 years old, there is some confusion over Keita's eligibility. Here's what I'll say. Here's the take on that. To the best of my knowledge and understanding, and like if you're here with us, I'm always going as hard as I can to learn as much as I can, to understand as much as I can, so that I can present it to you in bite-sized chunks. So to the best of my knowledge and understanding, Keita still has to be cleared by the NCAA. But hang on, Isaac. Isn't he only 18 years old? He's of college freshman age. There shouldn't be any question of eligibility. That's a great point. The question is not age. The question is amateurism versus professional. I'll explain. So Keita was born on March 1st, 2008. So he turned 18 last March, meaning he's essentially college freshman age, will turn 19 in March of his freshman year of college, right? So from an eligibility standpoint, he will be a freshman. If he wanted to stay at Carolina for 5 years under 5-5, absolutely he could. But the issue is he has played professional basketball in Europe. Yes, he's young, but yes, he's been a professional. So the NCAA still has to do their due diligence to see like like how all that plays out with the finances and the money. That's basically what I'm looking at and talking about there. And so yes, we fully expect him to be cleared because that's what other people in a similar scenario to him have experienced lately. But because of being a professional, even though he is of freshman age, does that countermand that? But in 5-5, it shouldn't be. And it honestly shouldn't matter because he's probably only in college for a year or two anyway. So who cares about the 5 years? That said, can we please NCAA not have a Luka Bogovac experience all over again, where literally the day of Carolina's first game, finally he finds out he's cleared? That's September 17th, October 17th. That's 2.5 months away. Can we just please not go through that again? Because yes, even though Keita can practice, and yes, he can. I know there's probably wondering and questions about that. Yes, you can practice with the team while you're awaiting clearance, all that. So he'll be in with the guys, but there's always this thought in the back of your head. What happens if I get denied? What happens if the NCAA takes forever and I'm not cleared till December or ACC play? What then? That has to affect your psyche as an 18-year-old. And if Coach Malone and the other coaches are doing their job, they'll say, I appreciate that, Sayon. Let us worry about that. You just be a student and you just be a basketball player. But you can't help it, right? If you're a player and you're worried about that eligibility, it's going to be always at some part of your mind and you're thinking about it. So just keep that in mind as well. For Sayon, he's got to be cleared. Again, according to my best understanding and knowledge. But the good news is, in the meantime, now you've got all these various options in the front court, right? You just brought in Cameron Fens, who is the guy with some heft, the guy with American collegiate experience. You've got Samodurov, who I know is more of a 4, more of a stretch 4. But if push comes to shove, he can move out to the 5 a little bit. You've got Jarin Stevenson, who can play a small ball 5, even though he's, we'd say small ball. The dude's 6'10", right? And so there are options for Michael Malone. But there's no reason at this point to think that Keita won't be ultimately cleared to play. But we'll keep our eyes on it. We'll see how that's going to play out and what's going to happen with it. Well, we are now, as I said, a week away from game week. Yes, a week from today, next Monday, will be game week before Carolina TCU. The guys will be, wonder when they're traveling. I actually haven't looked into that. But anyway, they're going to be in Dublin to play TCU. And you would think that that means the quarterback picture is clearing up as we head to that game. But right now, it's as clear as mud. Ugh. And I'll tell you about that right after we talk about 5-hour energy. Look, if you got a sweet tooth like I do, and boy, do it, you guys, it's bad. Ice cream, cinnamon rolls, whatever it is, your boy wants it. You know how tough it is if you've got that sweet tooth like me to find that perfect treat, but without all the sugar. I'm 42 years old and I can't be eating all that sugar. I've fully turned to like 0 sugar everything as much as I can. And that's why the cotton candy 5-hour energy shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. It's a classic cotton candy taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost. And best of all for me and maybe you, 0 sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always loved cotton candy, truly. Like, I love how it like disappears in your mouth. but I can't be out here eating sweets all day. This is the perfect alternative. I like how convenient it is too, right? That 5-hour energy shot, just a small portable shot you can grab for that little pick-me-up as you go through your day. It's become my go-to for when I need something sweet without going overboard with it. So bring on the sweetness with cotton candy 5-hour energy shots, available now online at 5hourenergy.com, or of course you can always grab it at Amazon. Check it out, 5-hour energy right now. Oh boy. As we get into talking about these quarterbacks and where that's headed, let me thank all of you for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Check out the Everydayer Club. Links in the show notes where you can get ad-free audio versions of the show if you don't like hearing me prattle on about our ads. Okay. Just as training camp is starting to wind down, I was thinking, we're probably going to start getting some more clarity on the quarterback situation here. Probably Miles O'Neill or Billy Edwards have vaulted themselves above the rest, and we're going to know. Even if Coach Belichick hasn't named him yet, whoever him is, it seems like there's a pretty obvious thing, as it was like with Drake May a couple years ago. He hadn't been named QB1 yet, but it was like, it's going to be Drake. We all know it's going to be Drake. Well, problem is, not only is it not getting clearer, I'm less sure now than ever whom on that first Saturday in Ireland against TCU, who's coming out to the huddle for the first offensive snaps. Will it be number 3, Travis Burgess? Will it be number 8, Miles O'Neill? Or will it be number 9, Billy Edwards Jr.? I don't know. Here's the timeline. Heading into fall camp, into training camp, it was like, yeah, Miles O'Neill's very talented. Travis Burgess has the highest ceiling on the roster. Newkirk's the one that's been around. But Edwards is the one with the most experience. He's the one that is the least risky of any of the options, with the fewest question marks, maybe is how I'll say it. And so it felt like heading into training camp, he had the lead. But then O'Neill, with all his attributes, with being recruited by Bobby Petrino at A&M, felt like he kind of pulled up next to him a little bit as, hey, it could be either horse's race here. And then it felt like this past week, Miles O'Neill might have even pulled ahead a little bit of Billy Edwards and was moving there. And so kind of a two-headed race between them. But then Travis Burgess's talent, supreme talent to the others, feels like it's catching up more quickly than I or probably anybody else would have thought, plus his recovery from missing basically his entire senior year last year. And so now, I don't know if I would call it a three-headed race, but I feel like both O'Neill and Edwards are right there, and Burgess is making his case more than ever. And of course, because in college football, you have to stay 3 years. If Burgess is within how many percentage points, let's say 5 to 10 percentage points of ability and trust of the other guys, you probably go with him. Why? Because he could be a 3-year starter for you ultimately. Does that make sense? And so, there's all that to wrestle with, a lot to figure out over the course of the next 2 weeks. Coach Belichick might already know. Matt Lombardi might already know who he wants to go with, but we sure don't. And from what we've seen from training camp, from what Inside Carolina is reporting, from what Tar Heel 247 is reporting, from what others right there on the ground are reporting, it truly is quite up in the air right now. Now, here's the other thing. Kind of my expectation, even this time last week, was that ultimately it would still be Miles O'Neill or Billy Edwards, but that because of how Travis Burgess was starting to come on and that his health was intact, that probably mid to late October or November, we'd start to see him really work his way into things. But we've also got to remember this wrinkle on it. Because of the onset of 5-5 that's coming, you used to, if you wanted to maintain a quarterback's eligibility, have to only play them 4 or fewer games, because then they could redshirt and you could still have them 4 years if you wanted to. I don't think Burgess from a talent standpoint anyway, what we expect him to be is the kind of kid that would probably be 3 and out to the NFL. We don't know that for sure, but it seems like it. However, now in a world where 5-5 is about to be a reality, there's no longer any need to wait on Burgess to only play 4 games. So I fully expect, whether he starts or not, because if you want him to start BQB1 at any point this season, why not get him a series against TCU? Why not get him maybe multiple series against ETSU in game 2? And then we'll see against Clemson and Notre Dame. You know, you got that strong Notre Dame defense. It's like, do you want to roll Travis Burgess out against that? We'll see. It depends on how he's doing. But I don't think it's any sort of thing now where you wait until the final 4 games of the season to play Burgess, because you can without reprisal of him losing a year of eligibility. And it's kind of like, you know, sometimes you do that with a running back, like late second quarter, maybe you give RB1 a breather, get somebody else a series, something like that. This year, that's probably, you know, Ben Hall and Juju June in some order is what we're looking at there. But that's my full expectation now, is that Bobby Petrino, a brilliant offensive mind, would be an idiot not to give the ball to his best quarterback, or, you know, long-term projected best quarterback, start getting him reps and opportunities and let him go to work. Why wouldn't you do that? All of that said, let me say this to you. I still think that against TCU, Billy Edwards is the guy that starts the game. Here's why. I'll give you 2 reasons. Number 1, I said it, I'll say it again, the experience. Obviously, with Travis Burgess, he has none. Literally no experience at the collegiate level. With Tory Newkirk, I can't remember how much he actually got last year. I'm trying to pull back up his thing, and I went to, of course, the basketball side first. Tory Newkirk last year played in 2 games, 6 pass attempts for 3 yards. I mean, that's literally it. With Miles O'Neal, has 20 total attempts in his entire career, right? Like, just doesn't have the same experience that Billy Edwards does. Now, with Edwards, he is coming off an injury suffered last year, and so, you know, he's working back into it as well. But he has played in 28 total games, 512 passing attempts, and was really good 2 years ago in Maryland. And so it's just, from an experience standpoint, that's the thing that makes sense. And then number 2, risk aversion. With O'Neal, everything says he is a more talented quarterback than Billy Edwards, has a more talented arm, can get more zip on it. But O'Neal sometimes doesn't make the right decision. And sometimes, like, the biggest win is making the right decision, even if you're not as talented at doing it. And then risk aversion as well. If you think about Burgess, he's a freshman. And so you just don't know. So to me, my expectation today is still that Billy Edwards is QB1 for TCU, but that also I would fully expect to see the other guys, the other 2. I don't know about Newkirk, but yes, with O'Neal, and yes, with Burgess, especially against ETSU. That might be the game where everybody gets quite a bit of reps. It's going to be interesting to see. A lot to talk about there. Okay. Here's an interesting wrinkle on the way sports are typically done. Ohio State just announced that they are moving senior day for their football team from the end of the season now to the beginning of the season. This is an interesting wrinkle, and honestly, I'm in favor of it. I'll explain why coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you're going to receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. every game has someone capable of going deep, and now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. One of my favorite parts of baseball is every day bringing that fresh energy. For me, my guy Matty Olson, my Brave, is bringing the lumber right now, hitting all these daily dingers. I'd go with him. Looking ahead to Carolina and TCU, that number, Carolina is now a 7.5-point underdog. It's getting worse, but now more opportunity if you think they can at least cover, and if not, win outright. Go check it out. Play your game today. Find that action all at FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of MLB. Ohio State announced that they are moving their senior day celebration from their home finale to the home opener. So typically they do that. Usually it's against Michigan when they're playing Michigan at home to wrap the season, or the game before that, whoever that would be, but still a Big Ten opponent. This year, Ohio State is moving their senior festivities to their September 5th home game against Ball State. So for Carolina football, for example, that might be that ETSU game, the first home game of the season. For Carolina basketball, that'd be like opening night, or maybe if you don't want to do it on opening night, that second game. Here's my take. I am in favor of this decision. I think it's wise and I think it's smart. Here's why. Typically, let's go Carolina basketball. That's the place where we think of first and foremost with senior day. Literally every other year, the last home game of the season, senior day, is when Carolina is hosting Duke. And that game is far too important to game to be dealing with senior day stuff. This upcoming season, senior day is going to be at home against Duke. And it's funny because usually the conversation with senior day activities is, do you do it pregame or do you do it post-game? And the arguments there are if you do it pregame, it gets you in your feels and your emotions and you take all the whatever out of it. If you do it post-game, but you lose, now nobody wants to be there because everybody's grumpy and mad and upset. And so there's been all that debate. Why don't you not have to have that argument and completely take it away from that and instead move it to a game that you know you're going to win? In Carolina basketball's case this year, that opening game is again, I'm looking back at last year's schedule. That opening game is going to be against, what is the first game? Oh, it's not on their official schedule. Monday, November 2nd. I got to go in and look at my my Isaac schedule because I have it. UNC basketball schedules this year. Okay, Monday, November 2nd is against Western Carolina. Why not do it then? In football, here's another thought. A lot of times teams will schedule patsy games on homecoming. Homecoming might be a great time to do it. But frankly, I love taking it out of the end of the season in a rivalry game, because even if it's not, for Carolina basketball's sake, even if it's not Duke, it's your next to last ACC game, which is probably critical. Last year, that game was against Clemson, a win Carolina really, really needed. They got, but it was close. And if you had the emotions of senior day on either side of that, who knows? Now, a big conversation, of course, is going to be, but Isaac, one of the great Carolina traditions on senior day is the seniors getting to start and play, just a minute or so or whatever. Yeah, I hear that. You could, if you wanted to, you could still do that. You could maintain that tradition in that game against Duke or Clemson if you wanted to. We don't even know that Michael Malone's going to do that, right? That's a Roy Williams thing that Coach Davis kept going. But you could also move that tradition to this as well. So if you want to move it up to that, say, Western Carolina home opener, senior day, start all your seniors, cool, whatever. There's options. I just think to remove the emotion of senior day from one of your most important games of the entire season makes a lot of sense. And I know for maybe some people it's not emotional. I can tell you right now, it's emotional for coaches. They might not always be in their right mindset. A lot of times seniors are your most important players, and you need them ready and locked in and not emotional, because emotional players get all hyped up and sometimes make bad, like if it's a pitcher, sometimes you can't control the emotion and your control is wild. I remember that for senior day in high school, right? Like it's a struggle. Well, I was probably playing outfield that day. Anyway, whatever. I love this idea by Ohio State. I'm all on board. Let's move senior day away from Duke or next to last regular season game, or for Carolina football, move it away from like that NC State game or whoever it would be, in the years where you're playing state, not this year it is state, but for example, last year, who was that next to last game? Wake Forest. It would have been Duke. That's funny. Would have been that game. It also, here's another thought in football. Remember, a lot of times you say, like some schools save a non-con game, like a throwaway, like FCS level game or something, or a group of 6 game for that next to last game. That's a great opportunity. So let's say Carolina football is playing NC State at home for senior day, but the week before that was literally like Western Carolina or something. Do it then, right? How recently has that been in football? Let me just jump back to 2022 and see what happened. I remember that Coach Brown didn't like to do this. He moved all the NC State games to the front, or excuse me, all the I don't know why I said NC State, all the main games to the front. Okay, yes. Here's a great example. This is exactly what I was thinking. Was Mercer was in my head. 2019, Carolina played at NC State for the last regular season game. This must have been this is Coach Brown's first year, because they played Temple in the bowl game. But the next to last regular season game was hosting Mercer. Carolina wins 56-7. What a perfect time that is for senior day against Mercer, where, all due respect to the Bears, you're going to win that football game. And actually, that would have been senior day anyway, right? So there's a lot there. I love this idea by Ohio State. Apparently, and I hadn't noticed this, both Georgia and South Carolina have done this well. I'm all in favor. Let's move it to the beginning of the season. Guess what? It is time for the first weekend whip around of the season. There's not much going on yet, but soccer has already started. We still have field hockey, volleyball, cross country, the other fall sports. Now, the individual tennis is in the fall now as well. Interestingly enough, team is in the spring. None of that has started actual games yet, but women's soccer opened up last Thursday, hosting Fairfield, beat them 4-0. They're playing, as we record right now, Quinnipiac. It was 4-0 at halftime, still 4-0 as we speak, cruising to another victory. Tar Heels, ranked preseason number 8, will be 2-0. Up next, they're headed to my neck of the woods, about an hour and a half south of me, to face number 10, Arkansas, the first true test of the season. Carolina 8, Arkansas 10. That'll be Thursday, first real test. Men's soccer, been playing some exhibitions. They haven't started their regular season yet, though, and that will be this Thursday at Georgetown, who's preseason number 5. Very difficult test on the road for both soccer teams this Thursday. The men are not ranked preseason. They're number 26 in that others receiving votes. All right, gang, it's all starting. First day of class. Football's coming up soon. Soccer's playing. Sayon Keita is in town. Man, it's all happening. Get amped. We're really, really ramping up. And if you want to make sure you don't miss a second, subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe and turn on automatic downloads on audio. By the way, I forgot to say, on YouTube, we are less than 250 subscribers away from 15,000. What? That is insanity, and it's all because of you. But if you have a friend, a buddy, a coworker, family member who's not already subscribed, would you ask them to come do that? Let's make this final push to 15,000. That would make a ton. I'd be honored, is what I'm trying to say by that. Locked on Tar Heels Discord, a great forum to come be part of. That link's in the show notes. I mentioned the Everydayer Club earlier. That link is down in the show notes as well. Say it with me. Let's get out of here. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.